Hi everybody. So I'm doing really well this week. I'm like uploading every day. It's not like I don't have things to talk about because I definitely have opinions about everything, but um I don't know, it is an odd habit to like stand in front of your phone and just talk at it. Um so what brought me on for this recording for this time is student loan forgiveness. Um, the biggest unfairness I see with it, um, first of all, the conservative talking point that there is justice in the fact that you went to school for, um, art history and didn't necessarily get that museum job, or you studied Afro American studies and didn't necessarily get that policy job, and now you weren't guaranteed a high salary, and you took out loans that now are weighing on you financially, weighing on your credit, and that is expected from the risk you took. Um, and there's so many problems with that when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of financing their education system in America. First of all, most schools, private and public, in the past 20 years, the changes in tuition rates. I mean, some of them, I remember, I think around 2002 or so, the tuition at my university, State University, University of Maryland, went up 50%. Or was it 100%? I think, when I started classes, the tuition was around 3,000 a year, um, or 3,000 a semester. And um, no, it was 1,500 a semester and it doubled to 3,000. And so when I returned from summer break to go to school, because I was in arrears for one semester, because the tuition hike did, the tuition hike, because of the tuition hike, I couldn't afford to bring myself up to current. They weren't going to allow me to register for the next semester without paying in full first. So that derailed my college education at state school, and that was kind of like my last resort. And I ended up at community college, and I was a kid who pretty much was groomed from third grade on to go to college, and to I had high expectations. I was all of the things. I was talented and gifted. I was advanced placement. I was an international baccalaureate student. And that's what I was told. I was told that I was doing the things that would make me a good candidate for college. I got into every college that I applied for. I had gotten to a private school in New England, and I went to that school for a year, but it was just, it turned out to be unaffordable. It put a huge rift in my family. It was a big cause of tension, and those student loans from that private university and my bill for University of Maryland have trailed me along all these years, because basically I've had to use the little bit of money I've made to live and to take other risks. And I think that's where the conservative talking point loses its gusto. For all the money that people are paying in debt or not paying in debt is money that they probably will be putting towards other risks in society that would have put more money into the economy and done a lot more for economy than the money they were putting into old debt. So there was, I don't know a lot about I don't know a lot of things about the economy, but like, the ideas of inflation and so forth, what bought you $1.50's worth now, costs you $4. 20 years later, it doesn't seem to apply to that debt. It's really strange, even with the tuition hikes. So you took out $20,000 of debt. For instance, the school I attended, Mount Ida, is no longer in operation, and the campus doesn't even exist anymore. It's not to say that my degree wouldn't have counted, but it's interesting to me that the actual institution that the tuition would have been paid to, that they I guess got their money from the government, and I now owe the government. So I have no proof that the school actually got the tuition money. Um, and now the school has been sold. So I would think any of their debts, any old tuition bills, any students that didn't pay, all the assets of the school, from the books to the equipment to the brick and mortar to the actual land it was on, all those things had created some sort of net worth for the school, and they've benefited while, I've been in a stasis with credit and dealing with, this, these exponential, the interest on my principal. And I think, like, it should be noted that most debts fall off of your credit report after 7 years. And or if they've gone into collections, the collections come off. Or if you were behind in payments, you get a year to catch up in payments and put yourself back in good graces with those institutions. But with student debt, it just lingers and grows, and you could be, in a situation where most of the money you're paying toward it and can't afford to pay towards it is going towards the interest and not the principal. And every other organization is benefiting from you paying on that schedule, except for you. And basically, the government, the conservative talking point is, yeah, you should be punished for not having succeeded, which is silly because apparently, education is supposed to last you for life. So I just feel like there should be more systems put in place for people who are who didn't necessarily succeed towards paying down their debt right out of college. I think it should be looked at as something forgivable after a certain amount of time, that the school benefited from from them getting those government funds, and that they didn't produce a employable candidate, especially with the money that they've taken and they've profited from in some way or another. Those schools don't just hold on to that money and build better dorms or better facilities. They invest that money. They make money off those profits. They reinvest in their infrastructure, and those things become assets to those organizations. And the actual student's education is all on the students, and the math of that is just really, I think it's really silly. I think there's lots of options to think about what to do with student loan debt, but I think it's just pretty clear cut. If you took the money that people were putting towards student debt and they were buying houses and feeling more secure to have families, or even buy a new car, or buy a side hustle car, or start an app, or do something else with the money, it would just be better spent on the economy as a whole than it going towards debt that's been eaten 3 or 4 times over. And I personally don't understand the bailout mentality of financial institutions. And when it comes to debt across the board, there seems to be lots of opportunities for them to buy and trade debt, to sell debt, and yet somehow the government has gotten themselves in a predicament where the debt that they're eating, it seems like the cost of maintaining and looking after that debt, it seems to be outweighing the actual income they're making from people repaying the debt. I would love to see the numbers of what the university, what the Department of Education is collecting versus their cost of operations, and how much money the government would save with just obliterating that department and taking that money and giving it back to students so they can re-educate themselves towards the trends of the new market. Like, if you decide, like, there should be an option. Like, if you want to go back to school for computer training, computer science, for healthcare, and you already have student loan debt, I think if you complete school and go into those fields that the country really needs, you should be a part of that, forgiven status, like teachers and I guess also there's other public social work sort of positions that get that AmeriCorps sort of student loan forgiveness program. I just feel like there should be more options. You shouldn't have to just go in the military or work with homeless populations or work in low-income neighborhoods. You should be able to start a business like junk removal or recycling. You should be able to get your certifications and become an IT professional. And those things should be able to offset some of the debt because you're contributing to the economic growth of the country. I just think there's smarter ways to deal with this. And just going ahead and canceling up to $50,000 worth of debt or 100% of that debt for people who are making under a certain amount of money, I think it's just a smart thing to do. I mean, there's a lot of people like myself who have chosen really to stay out of the money game. I'm just now like learning about finances and money and what you can do with money and how you can sort of, play the game and profit a little bit here and there. But it's not interesting to me. I'm a service-oriented person. I've spent a lot of my 20s and 30s volunteering, being a part of arts administrations, helping the homeless, being homeless. I feel better closer to the ground. I feel better being a part of the solution. I would love to see myself in my 60s retired on a good $1 million and living a very happy retired life after spending my entire adult life not only being of service, but being educated and learning more, and then turning around and giving that education back. And I don't want to do that just because I have so much debt on my plate that I have to do this. It's very short-sighted. It's not very smart. I don't like the conservative talking point that, debt is punishment when they look at debt as a tradable commodity. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on forgiving student loan debt. And, I hope that this is one of the things that can bring us all together as a country, right, left, independent. I don't know who the all extremes are, but, I just feel like this is something that affects a lot of us and can be taken care of. So, see you later.